Hey, welcome back to the channel. Zach Barnes here, and today we will be looking at this super beginner-friendly chord progression. The number system and how chords work in diatonic harmony is so important to understand. Now, this lesson comes from my exclusive online community called the Saucy Collective, where I have hundreds of modules and hours of teaching on everything from the number system, harmony, chord progressions, passing chords, arpeggios, solo improvisation, and more. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right in. All right, so it's time to learn this chord progression. That chord progression is 4, 1, 6, 5, okay? And it repeats over and over again to the very last part where it goes 2, 6, 5, okay? We're gonna start off, we're gonna go from root position, then we'll talk about inversions, and then we'll talk about voicings, okay? We're gonna progress this from super simple to more advanced, all right? So first things first, what is this chord pattern? You guessed it, it's in the lesson title, 4, 1, 6, 5, okay? There's a slight deviation in the last one where it goes 2, 6, 5, but we'll get there. So 4, 1, 6, 5. First things first, the bass note pattern. I'm gonna give you 5 seconds to beat me to it, but find 4, 1, 6, 5 and play it. Key of C, give yourself 1 octave, play 4, 1, 6, 5. I'll give you 5 seconds before I play it. All right, here we go. 4, 1, 6, 5. Okay? Now, the second layer to it, now that we have the bass notes, is we have to attach the appropriate chords. Now we're gonna go root form, okay? Remember, we're gonna start root form, then we're gonna do inversions, and then we're gonna talk about voicings. So the root form, remember the root form is just a triad. Okay, so we're gonna play the 4, and then the 1, then the 6, and then the 5. Okay, and we'll scoot that down an octave. We'll play it down here. 4, 1, 6, 5. Now at this point, doesn't matter if you play with your right or left hand because we're jumping across the keyboard. You can do it you can do it with your left hand if you're more comfortable. 4, 1, 6, 5. Okay. Then the last one we have 2, 6, 5. All right. Now you have to pay attention to the rhythm because the rhythm is a little bit different. It's 4, 1, 6, 5. So it's on the upbeat. So we have 1, 2, and 3, 4. 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 1, 2, and 3. Here goes the change. 2, 6, 5. Let's practice that with the track. Here we go. Root position only, which means it's gonna feel weird because we're jumping around the keyboard, but we're doing root position only. Here we go.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Turn around. Here we go again. Time, root position, here we go. 4, 1, 6, 5. 4, 1, 6, 5. All right, so good job. That's root position. Now let's go to level. First of all, practice that. If you struggle with the root position, stop right now, use the backing track and practice that for like a good 5, 10, maybe play the track is 2 minutes. So you should go through the entire track, start to finish, 2 to 3 times, trying to make mistakes. Get it to the point where you can play the whole thing without making mistakes, and you're not thinking about it, where it's like, okay, 4, 1, 6, 5 feels natural. All right, that's level 1. Now let's go to level 2. Hey, if you're enjoying this lesson and you like my teaching style and you want to learn more from me, consider joining my online community, the Saucy Collective. You can find more information linked in the description below. I've got hundreds of modules, hours worth of teaching, backing tracks, and more for you to learn from. Simply click the link in the description below or go to learn.saucysounds.com. I'll see you there. Now you might be asking yourself, Zach, why the heck are we jumping around from, key to key, from chord to chord? It's a great question, and you're not supposed to. Well, you can, but unless you if you're gonna do something, it needs to be intentional, not just because. So how we get around that is using inversions. And remember, just a fresh reminder, inversions, if you don't know it, go to chord theory. But inversions is when we simply rearrange the order of the notes. So our first chord is the 4 chord, which is F. An inversion means to go up or down. So we take this note on the bottom, put it at the top. Those are inversions. We're playing the exact same notes, we're just changing the order. So we have 1, 3, 5, 3, 5, 1, 5, 1, 3. And it just repeats. 1, 3, 5, 3, 5, 1, 5, 1, 3. Inversions just allow us to move up and down the keyboard without changing the chord. I'll say that one more time. Write it down, memorize it. That's so important. Inversions allow us to move up and down the keyboard without changing chords. That's huge implications, and we'll get into that in chord theory and the inversions lessons. But all that stuff you heard me in the beginning where I'm like, so that right there, the way I'm able to move up and down the keyboard is by using inversions. The other reason why inversions are important is it allows you to group the notes together in a melodic fashion. So when we're playing it in root form, there's no melody to it. But if I use inversions, see how the chords fit together, and notice how I'm not moving my hand. That's like staying in the same position. And that's why when you see professional piano players playing, it's like, how is it that they're just staying right here? It's using inversions, okay? So let's start off with the first inversion, or the first grouping. We're gonna start with the root position 4 chord. But rather than moving down to the C chord root position, we are going to play the C chord using this position. And the way that you do that is with inversions. Let's talk about it. So first, we're going from F to C. Now the goal is to stay here and not move your finger off any notes that might already be in C. So we know in the C triad, there's a C, E, G. We already have C right here at the top, so we don't have to move this finger. Now we just need to find the G and the E. So now we've got, boom. That's why inversions are important. So just kind of take a couple seconds to get used to that. That's F major to now C major, AKA 4 to the 1. But we're using an inversion. And this allows us to keep our hands in the same place, but change chords. This is really important, like I said, because range matters. If we played here, it sounds too tinny. If we play it down here, it sounds nice and full. If we play it down here, it sounds muddy. This is one of the many reasons why inversion is important, because it allows us to control range of the keyboard. If we kept jumping like this, some of the chords are tinny, some of the chords are strong. We don't want that. We want it consistent. So by limiting the range, we give ourselves a consistent frequency. Inversions let us do that. So let's keep going. We go from the 4, which is F major, to the 1, which is C major. Now we're gonna go to the 6. Now remember, the 6 root position's up here, but we shouldn't have to lift up any of our fingers. So I gave it away. So 4, 1, Now we know we're only missing one note because C major triad and A minor triad share 2 notes. The only missing note is switching the G to the A. C major, A minor, C major, A minor. So now we can go 4 to the 1, to the 6. Now we go to the 5. Now this is where we have to move all of our fingers because there's no shared notes with G. And there it is. You could go up, but we lose that bottom, right? Because we're already down here. And you can hear it, it's very pleasing to the ear to go there. So. And that's the chord progression. But notice we're not jumping around. So we went from here. Now we're here. So let's practice this with the backing track. Pause the video, grab these fingerings, okay? Start with the 4, root position. Then we drop down to the 1, which is an inversion. Then we're gonna go to the 6, which is another inversion. Then we're gonna drop down to the 5. Now, a neat little trick that I like to do when I'm looking at my inversions, I like to pay attention to where the root note is. So the first one, the root is on the bottom. When we drop down to the 1 chord, the C, the root is on the top. This just helps me kind of keep track of like the roots. Then we go to the A minor, the root's in the middle. Then we go to the G major, and the root is in the middle. So the root is on the bottom, and the root is on the top. Then the root is in the middle, and the root is in the middle. Let's practice this with the backing track. Here we go.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Good. We'll do it one more time before we go to the turnaround. Here we go.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, now the next part is we're gonna do the turnaround. Okay, so we got 4, 1, 6, 5. We're gonna move 2 notes again because we're already on the D. So we're going to the 2 chord. All we gotta do is drop down, G major, D minor. You see that on the screen, G major, D minor. So just 2 notes. So we start with 4, 1, 6, 5. Now we go to the 2 chord just by dropping the top 2 notes. We got 2. Then we're gonna go back to the 6 voicing, and then back to the 5. So notice how sweet that sounds. It sounds way better than. Instead we have. It sounds way more cohesive, okay? So now that's the chords. Those are the chords for the entire song. Let's run through the song playing the inversions, okay? This is our first grouping. Here we go.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, quick tip before you move on. Know that you're going to have to learn this in both hands. Here's why. If you're playing just by yourself or with yourself and a singer and there's no band, you're going to have to be able to play with the bass. If you're playing with the bass player, you're going to have to be able to play it rootless, which means you'll have to play it with your left hand. So I'm going to give you the fingerings for both, and then we'll move on to the lesson. Here we go. So here's a fingering with the right hand, left hand bass. Pause the video, get the voicings. Okay, practice that along with the backing track. So make sure you practice out the backing track. Then we have the left hand voicing, which is the same voicing, but it's just rootless, and we're playing the left hand. It's gonna look like this. Make sure you pause the video and get these voicings down. And then the turnaround. All right, so make sure you do that. Okay, so now that you have that down, let's move the inversion up one. And now this isn't mandatory. This is just to show you how we can gain freedom with mobility on the keyboard by using inversions. So we started our first one here. You kind of want to, you pick your section by the first chord. So our first chord, we started here. Now we can start at the chord here. Okay, that gives a complete different timbre. That sounds way different up here than it does down here. This sounds nice and full. This sounds more articulate. Right? You can hear it more. Now, if you're playing with the singer, you really don't want to be hurt like that, which is why we're playing it down here. But if you were playing by yourself or had a solo, then all of a sudden, it makes more sense. And that's how you start moving up the keyboard. All right, so that's a little more of an advanced thing. So all I'm doing is just starting the inversion here. F, C, A, G. 4, 1, 6, 5. This is why it's important for you to practice your inversions. So make sure that you take time, learn your triads, and practice them just like that. So you can get familiar with them, okay? That way you can play left-handed. The left hand is not changing. We've already learned this voicings. What's changing and making it seem really cool is the right hand going up. So that movement that I did there, I just went from this inversion of F to that version of F, then resolve to the C. And that's all I'm doing. I'm just... That's what makes it sound fancy. The left hand's not moving anywhere. The right hand is just flying up and down inversions. So that's a little bit of an intermediate technique for you guys. So I think we'll cut it there. What I want you to practice with the backing track is right hand, then practice left hand. And then if you're feeling a little fancy, try adding in the right hand. Okay, just find another inversion and just play it together. See how that goes, and then try moving up and down the keyboard. But for the most important part, practice the root with the bass, and then practice left hand rootless with the backing track. Don't move on to the next module until you have that down. Have it down to where it's second nature and you're not thinking about it. Catch you guys in the next one.